Okay, it's great to see everybody, and basically we're celebrating Earth Day, but we're also celebrating Earth Month and Earth Year, I think. Behind me you can see a Greenbelt banner. That's one of the campaigns that we started early on, and Taya Jones and Peter Orfanos in Mississauga were main leaders for that campaign, and it's all about bringing our urban river valleys under the umbrella of the Greenbelt. So that has been successful in Peel, and we're very proud of that. Our group, Sierra, has been around in Peel for about 15 years or so. We're a group of volunteers that get into tree planting and things like that, but we also sit at policy tables. And we like to get involved whenever there's an official plan review. City of Brampton, City of Mississauga, City of Caledon, Region of Peel, CBC and TRCA. So those municipal and conservation areas are our partners in so many things. I've got a little bit of a note which I'm going to put in the chat beside us here to sort of give a bit more information and details on what I'll be talking about. Oops. Oh, I'll try that again. Basically, Sierra Club is about protecting natural heritage, transitioning to green energy, and pulling together to address the climate emergency. We try and get involved in action items. For example, recently you might have noticed, I'm just trying this again here. You might have noticed that, I'm not able to type my message. Anyway, you might have noticed that the GM plant in East Toronto in Oshawa has been asked to retool to provide masks for the COVID emergency. Well, there's a petition out to expand that ask into not only retooling for the climate emergency, not only retooling for the COVID emergency, but retooling for the climate emergency. So at some point, we'd like to see GM and all the big car makers creating jobs in Canada by producing electric cars, certainly cars that do not enlarge our carbon footprint. The other campaign that we're on at the moment is, you might have noticed that there was a move by the Ontario government to suspend environmental oversight during the COVID emergency, citing the COVID emergency as a reason to do this. Environmental oversight refers to the EBR, where any environmental assessments and projects that relate to environmental assessments are posted online, and the public is invited to respond and give input. So it's a kind of a step in the wrong direction for our Ontario government to do this. First of all, there's no need for them to do this by citing the COVID emergency, because there are clauses in place to deal with any kind of emergency without having to cancel environmental oversight through the EBR. So these links I'm referring to, I can forward to you later so you have them. Another item that's happening locally here in Brampton is the City of Brampton's Energy and Emissions Reduction Plan. And citizens are invited to go online to the City of Brampton. It's called CEERP, Climate Emergency Emissions and Reduction Plan, to give input to this plan. And it's kind of exciting because, again, it's about reducing our carbon footprint. The plan is, first of all, a partnership with Sheridan College. Sheridan College has a climate action plan to reduce its energy footprint to zero. They've already established an energy producing plant on their campus in Brampton, Davis campus. And they're using a combination of energies plus efficiencies in their buildings to bring down their carbon footprint. They are now producing energy to the extent that they are able to supply surrounding areas with energy. So there's infrastructure going into the ground to supply, for example, Holland Christian homes with energy. So how does this reduce the carbon footprint? It reduces it because it reduces our reliance on natural gas and oil. Most of us in Peel rely on natural gas to heat our homes and to air condition in the summer. But if we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels such as natural gas and oil, and instead rely on solar, biomass, possibly geothermal, a combination of other energies that are cleaner, then we reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and reduce our carbon footprint. So this is part of what's happening with the Brampton emissions efficiency and emissions reduction plan. So as I say, I'll provide that link so you can explore it further, because there's plans to extend that model from Sheridan College to other parts of the city. Basically, if you have local energy being provided, and that energy can be expanded into surrounding residential and city areas, you can duplicate that model on any large campus. So 2 other large campuses that are looking to do this are Shoppers World in Brampton. That's part of the revisioning of Shoppers World, that they would have an in-house energy system that powers their campus, but then expands to surrounding areas. And the other campus that they're looking at doing this is Bramley City Center. So once you have these examples in place, it's called district energy, then you can look at how do we do that elsewhere in our community. I guess another thing I wanted to mention is, Diane Sachs. So Diane Sachs was the former Environmental Commissioner of Ontario. And with our current government, when they came in, they basically undid a lot of the great things that we had in place to address the climate emergency. And one of them was to undermine the office of the Environmental Commissioner and roll it into another department. Now, Diane Sachs was our commissioner, and she's an amazing person, a lawyer, environmental expertise. So she has continued online to provide input wherever she can on what we need to do to move forward with the climate emergency. So I will make sure that I provide that site to you as well. And the last campaign I wanted to mention or refer to is Sierra Club BC recently posted an item on their website called Balancing the Canoe. Sierra Club BC has been active in Canada for over 50 years. It grew from the Sierra Club in the United States, which has been established for over 100 years. John Muir, who was one of the founding fathers, traveled extensively throughout the US and Canada. So Sierra Club BC is a well-established and well-recognized environmental group. Their post, it's called Balancing the Canoe, and it reminds us that we have to look at past mistakes and learn from them. That's how we move forward in every area and in the climate emergency for sure. Balancing the Canoe tells us that when we drove Indigenous peoples off the lands to protect those lands as wilderness parks, we actually drove away people who were stewards of the land for generations, who understood the land, cared for the land, and knew how to live integrally with that land. So we did a disservice not only to the Indigenous peoples, the First Nations, but also to the lands we were trying to protect. Nowadays, with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the many things that are happening where we are recognizing the leadership of Indigenous peoples, we're trying to rebuild that relationship and that respect for the First Peoples who lived on this land. Good things are happening locally in that regard. The Credit Valley Conservation is establishing a Credit Valley Trail. It's a 25-year project. It's running from the headwaters up in Caledon, up around Orangeville, right down to the lake. So it's running through all 3 municipalities. There are portions of it in place. You know, in Mississauga, you have trails along the Credit already. I think the Cullum Trail is one. So throughout the municipalities, there are sections, But what needs to happen is those sections need to be connected for a continuous trail. So one of the stakeholder groups that's involved in establishing this trail is First Nations in Peel. So they bring their knowledge and their heritage to the establishment of that trail and help us all to come to the water and recognize what a valuable resource it is. So these are just some examples of what we in Sierra Club are doing. We're getting involved locally with partner groups who are also working at dealing with the climate emergency. I guess that's about all I need to say at this stage. Thank you very much.